wonder if any of these stories look familiar to you. The story of Snow White, Cinderella. This is the story of Sleeping Beauty. She had a curse that she was sleeping and a prince had to come and rescue her. They could live happily ever after together. Give a nod, or you could do a connection if you are familiar with Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella or Snow White. Okay, lots of you are familiar with these stories. Does anybody know what kind of stories these are? Would we call these poems or storybooks? What do you think we would call these? Henry? Fairy tales, exactly. These are fairy tale stories. They're fiction. That means they're make-believe stories. Who are some of the characters that are in some fairy tales? Who do we usually see in a fairy tale story? Claire? Or Claire Moyer? Sleeping Beauty's in this one. What kinds of characters do we see in a lot of fairy tale stories? Noah?
Villains.
Maybe some villains, like the villain would be like a bad character.
Yeah, like the Joker.
Yeah. Rowan?
Yeah, like.
Oh, hold on. Rowan was called on. Hayden?
The Beast.
Okay. Are you familiar with the word prince or princess? Have you heard those words before?
Yeah.
Are those characters that you've seen in some fairy tale stories? Prince or princess. In these stories, there's a princess who gets rescued by a prince, and they live together happily ever after. Nod your head if that sounds familiar. So there are princes and princesses in fairy tale stories. Well, today we're going to read a fairy tale story. It's called The Paper Bag Princess. And you might know this one already. That's fine. This is a fairy tale story. It's kind of like these other ones, but it's also a little bit different. Okay, it's a little bit different from those. While I'm reading the book, there are some things that you can do. And I put them on a paper bag, just like our book is The Paper Bag Princess. These are some things you can do. I can ask and answer questions about the story. So if you are wondering about something in the story while I'm reading, you can raise a hand to ask your question. Also, I will stop reading to ask you some questions during the book. Nod your head if that sounds like something you can do. Okay? Another thing that you can do while I'm reading the book, I can tell who the characters are in the story. It's important to know who the people, the characters are in the stories that we read. Nod your head if you think you can, after we start, think about who the characters are. Okay? I can tell about what is happening in the story by looking at the pictures. And there's a picture right there from the book. Nod your head if you think that you can look at pictures to help you know about the story. I've got to do something really quick to this bag before I show you this side. It's a little bit of a mystery. Okay, let's take a look at this side. These are some more things that you can do. It says, I can tell what things happen in the story, and I can think about what a word I don't know might mean. Remember yesterday when we read Make and Mole Rat Gets Dressed? There was a word in that book that we weren't sure what it meant. Remember that word regal? And we talked about that. We didn't know what regal meant, but we talked about it, and then we had some really smart ideas. Nod your head if you remember that. Okay? So today, when I'm reading The Paper Bag Princess, there might be some words in this book that we don't know. If I stop and ask you, what do you think that word might mean? You can think about it and make a smart guess. Nod your head if that sounds like something you could do. Excellent. Ooh, and another fun thing we get to do today is think and talk. We did this yesterday. You're sitting with your think and talk buddy. Look at your think and talk buddy and give them a smile. And Gwendolyn, you have two buddies. And Claire and Sloan, you're going to do two smiles because you're a group of three. Look at your buddies and give a smile so you know who your buddy is. Okay? Remember, when we do a think and talk, now look at me, please. Sit down, I want to see your smile. I love it. All right, so remember for think and talk, the first thing we do when I ask a question, is you just think about it. You don't talk yet, you just think about the question I ask. Okay? After your brain's been thinking for a little bit, then you look at your buddy's eyes. you look at their eyes, one person will do the talking, and they'll start by saying, I think, whatever they think, while the other buddy does the listening. See how all the kids are sitting crisscross applesauce? The listener has their hands in their lap, and their ears are ready to listen. Okay? I don't like that humming while I'm talking. Thank you. After a minute or so, we'll switch. The person who was listening will now do the talking. I think. The person who was talking becomes the listener. See her big listening ears? And remember that we want to stay focused. Okay? You'll just be talking about the question that I ask you. You're not going to be talking about birthdays or recess or shoes. You're talking about the paper bag princess and the question I ask you. Nod your head if you agree. Okay, Landon, I want you to fix your shirt. Thank you. So that you're ready to listen and learn. All right, the paper bag princess. Let's get started. The Paper Bag Princess by Robert Munsch. Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald. Oh, look what we can do. I can tell who the characters are in the story. Who do we know so far? Raise a hand. Rather than shouting out, I do want you to raise a hand. Thanks, Gwendolyn. Claire Moyer, who do we know so far?
Elizabeth.
Princess Elizabeth, and who else, Calvin?
Ronald.
And Prince Ronald. So we know two of the characters already. That was easy. Let's keep reading. Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle, burned all her clothes with his fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back. She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that was not burnt was a paper bag. So she put the paper bag on and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a trail of burnt forest and horses' bones. Oh, let's think about this for a minute. I can tell what things happened in the story. Who can tell? What has happened in the story so far? Ashton?
The dragon ate the horse.
Well, there is a trail of horses' bones, so maybe. Okay, what do we know has happened already in the story? Leslie? Tell us something that has happened in the story. Who remembers what has happened in the story? You can tell things that happen in the story. Noah?
The dragon carried off Ronald.
Okay. Do you remember when the dragon came and he carried off Ronald? Yeah. The dragon took Ronald away. What else has happened? Henry?
The castle got blown down.
Yeah, this dragon came, he smashed the castle, he burned up all of her clothes and everything with his hot, fiery breath, and he took off with Prince Ronald. And we know that Princess Elizabeth has decided to try to go get Ronald back. Okay?
What are the bones?
He's burned up some horses on the way. Those are horses' bones. Isn't that awful?
I have a... Miss Wiseman?
Hey, friends, I'm going to keep reading. Finally, Elizabeth came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged on the door. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Well, a princess. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I am a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught. Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Go away. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I am a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." "Oh, wait," shouted Elizabeth. "Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world?" "Yes," said the dragon. Now wait a minute, there's a word I don't know there. Fiercest. Let me read that again. "Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world?" Friends, we're going to do a think and talk. I want you to think right now, because this is something we can do. I can think about what a word I don't know might mean. So take a minute. Oh, wait, we haven't started talking yet. Take a minute now. The first thing we do is think with our brains, mouths closed. Think about that word fiercest. Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world? We don't know that word, but we can think about what it might mean. Fiercest. Okay, we've thought about it. Look at your buddy's eyes. One person will do the talking first. I think fiercest might mean...
I think fiercest means that it's he's very brave.
If you haven't switched yet, let the other buddy have a turn to talk while you listen.
I think that the bravest person, they're brave and I think that they're not mean and they're really brave. They're not scared of anything. I thought that too.
Okay, buddies, all eyes on me now. I heard a lot of good ideas about what fiercest might mean. We don't know for sure, but at least we can think about it and make some smart guesses. I can think about what a word I don't know might mean. Let's go ahead and put fiercest on here. Fiercest. Raise a hand if you would like to tell an idea you have for what fiercest might mean. Henry?
Fiercest means scary.
Oh, so maybe fiercest means scariest, like he's the scariest dragon in the whole world. That could be. What do you think, Dimitri?
Like so scary.
So scary. He would be the scariest dragon. Okay, it could be. Wesley?
She's like the scariest.
So we've already said scariest or scary. Do we have any other words that might help us understand fiercest? Riley?
He's the bravest dragon in the world.
Oh, maybe he's the bravest dragon. Maybe fiercest means bravest. So he's the scariest and bravest. What do you think, Hayden?
Scariest is what it means. Like fierce and probably like strongest.
Oh, maybe he's the strongest. Maybe fiercest has to do with being strong. So he's the scariest, bravest, strongest dragon. Do we have any other ideas, Maddox?
Heaviest.
Maybe he's the heaviest one. Okay.
Yeah.
Miriam?
Heaviest dragon.
Say it again. Oh, he's like a king dragon, maybe. Okay. Ashton? What do you think about?
Maybe super strong.
Strong. Yes, and we have scariest, bravest, strongest, heaviest.
Smart.
Oh, maybe he's smart. Sid, you didn't raise a hand, but I did hear you say something when you were doing your think and talk. Did I hear you use the word dangerous? I thought you told Henry that maybe fiercest means most dangerous.
I knew it. It is.
Could I put that on here? So maybe fiercest means that he's the scariest, bravest, strongest, heaviest, smartest, most dangerous dragon. Whew, that Princess Elizabeth is brave to try to get through him. Let's keep reading. So he says, yes, it's true. He is the fiercest dragon. Is it true, said Elizabeth, that you can burn up 10 forests with your fiery breath? Oh, yes, said the dragon. And he took a huge, deep breath and breathed out so much fire that he burned up 50 forests. Fantastic, said Elizabeth, and the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 100 forests.
Oh.
Magnificent, said Elizabeth, and the dragon took another huge breath. But this time nothing came out. The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. Oh. So what has happened to the dragon's fiery breath, Miriam?
He didn't have more fire.
He has run out of fire. He used up all of his fire. He has no fiery breath left in him. Do you think Elizabeth meant for that to happen? Do you think she wanted the dragon to use up all of his fire? Oh, Ashton?
I think he doesn't want him to make her on fire.
Yeah, well, she wants to get through the dragon to save Prince Ronald, so if he uses up all of his fire, then there's no fire left to burn her up. Is that what you're thinking? Very clever. So this might be part of her plan. Okay, let's keep reading. Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds? "Why, yes," said the dragon, and he jumped up and flew all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic! Do it again!" So first, Elizabeth had Dragon do all kinds of things to use up his fiery breath so he would run out of fire. Now she's asking if he can fly around the world, which he can do, and he's done it. He's getting very tired. She wants him to do it again, even though he's already feeling tired. I wonder if this might be part of a plan. Let's think about that. Let's think. Do you think Elizabeth has a plan for the dragon using up all of his fire and flying around the world so much that he gets so tired? I wonder if it's part of a plan to help her save Ronald. Think about that for a minute.
I think it
Oh,
is.
wait. We're going to talk in just a minute. First, do the thinking. Look at your buddy's eyes. One buddy does the talking. I think
that it's part of a plan. So all the dragon and the genius. I think that he wants all the time and he gets tired and he saves us from the
Okay, if you haven't switched yet, go ahead and switch so the other person has a chance to talk. I'm watching you and listening too. I want to hear you again.
I think that's
Okay, that was some good thinking and talking. Keep those ideas in your brain while we finish reading the rest of the book. So, the dragon jumped up and flew around the world in just 20 seconds. When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he lay down and went straight to sleep. Elizabeth whispered very softly, "Hey, dragon." The dragon didn't move at all. She lifted up the dragon's ear and put her head right inside. She shouted as loud as she could, "Hey, dragon!" The dragon was so tired, he didn't even move. Friends, we know that you can tell about what is happening in the story by looking at the pictures. Take a look at this picture. Think about what's happening in the story just by looking at the picture. If you'd like to raise a hand to explain about what's happening in the story by looking at the illustration, we'd like to hear your thoughts. Hayden?
Well, you know when he runs around the world 2 times?
Hang on, okay, go ahead.
He runs out of breath.
Okay. Hayden, we're looking at this picture though. I just want you to look at this picture and tell what's happening in the story here with this picture.
The dragon's sleeping.
Okay. In the picture, we can see that the dragon is sleeping. Okay. What else is happening in this part of the story? The dragon is sleeping. Calvin?
Prince Ronald is in jail.
Yes. Did you see Prince Ronald up here?
Yes.
Prince Ronald is locked up in the dragon's cave. What's he doing? Look at the picture. He's waving. Look at the picture. Who do you think he might be waving to? Maddox?
Elizabeth.
Yeah, so by looking at the picture, we know the dragon has fallen asleep. Prince Ronald is waving to Princess Elizabeth down here. She has come to save him. He's probably thinking, "Hooray! Princess Elizabeth has come to rescue me from the dragon. She'll come save me, and we'll live happily ever after together, just like these other fairy tale books we know. Let's read to find out.
I bet they're going to
die. Let's listen. Say excuse me. Let's be a good listener. Henry, this way. Elizabeth walked right over the dragon and opened the door to the cave. There was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Elizabeth, you are a mess. You smell like ashes, and your hair is all tangled, and you are wearing a dirty old paper bag? Ugh, come back when you are dressed like a real princess." "Ronald," said Elizabeth, "your clothes are really pretty, and your hair is very neat. You look like a real prince, but you are a bum." And they didn't get married after all. Whoa! That's a surprise ending. That's not what I thought was going to happen.
I did.
So, if you knew the book before, you might have known. But that's kind of a surprise. Think about other fairy tale books. Henry, sit up. We're in school. Other fairy tale stories, the prince rescues the princess and they live happily ever after together. That's not what's happening in this story. I want you to think about what Prince Ronald said. Because remember, Princess Elizabeth has been so brave. She went to the dragon's cave. That's scary. And she rescued him. And Princess Elizabeth is very clever and smart. She tricked the dragon to use up his fiery breath and to get so tired. So after everything that Princess Elizabeth went through to rescue Ronald, think about what Ronald said. He said, "Elizabeth, you're a mess. You smell bad, your hair is messy, you're wearing a bag. Come back and rescue me when you look pretty." Think about what he said. And then think about what Elizabeth said. "Ronald, you sure look nice, but you're a real bum." Think about that. Think about that. Okay? I'm wondering, hold on, we're going to do a think and talk. What I want you to think about is what Ronald said and what Elizabeth said. And do you think that Elizabeth should have married Ronald? Think about it first. Don't talk yet. Thinking first. Look at your buddy's eyes. One person does the talking. I think
that it wasn't a good choice to marry Ronald, but Elizabeth didn't know that they would say mean things about each other. I think they would.
Okay, be sure to switch if you haven't switched yet.
I think they would. I forgot. I think it was. I think they would. Ronald said, "You're bum. Thank you, little boom."
Okay, buddies, I have heard some really good ideas about if you think Elizabeth should have married Ronald or not. If you'd like to share your ideas with the whole class, you are invited to raise a hand. Miriam, do you think Elizabeth should have married Ronald? In this story, do you think that Princess Elizabeth should have married Ronald or no? No, why not?
That's right, because that she let the dragon go out of fire and let him be fire.
So Prince Ronald didn't really appreciate that Elizabeth was so clever by tricking the dragon. Okay, so maybe she should be with somebody who understands how clever she is. Okay, Hayden? Do you think Princess Elizabeth should have married Ronald or no? Why not? He's a big bum. Why do you think he's a big bum? I know. So I'm wondering, this Prince Ronald, does he care that Elizabeth is so brave? No. Does he care that she is so smart? No. What does he care about? if she looks pretty. Brave is more important than pretty, right? Smart is more important than pretty, right? But he doesn't care. And Elizabeth is like, I don't want to be with somebody who only cares about pretty, right? Do you think Elizabeth is a lot like the princesses in these fairy tale books, or is she kind of different from them? Different. She's different from them. They needed a prince to come and save them. Did Elizabeth need a prince to come and save her? No. She actually could save a prince. Okay. Ashton?
Andy does that.
What would you like to do with it?
Something attack.
Okay. Would you like to tell Andy that you didn't like that? Or maybe Andy will throw it in the trash. Andy, Ashton didn't like when you threw the dirt at him, and we'd like you to put it in the trash. Thank you. Friends, give yourselves a pat on the back for a great job doing a think and talk, and I'd like to put another leaf up on our tree for such a good job with think and talk. I also am going to invite you to stand up and light up for recess.